In recent years, I feel like BMW has struggled a lot when it comes to their specifically exterior design, but also the panels, the dash screens that we have in the interior as well. And right now in 2025, I think the BMW X5 is... I don't know if it's the best looking BMW on sale right now. I think it is, and specifically now that you can get it with this $10,000 off-road package. You can see that we have all-terrain tires from factory now, which I think is very, very cool. So in this video, we're going to walk around this brand new 2025 X5 xDrive40i. I'm going to show you all around it. I love that we have the shadow line package, blacks out everything that's usually chrome. Looks so much better. We're going to have a look at the front end design, the side view, the rear, the interior, and then of course, we're going to take this for a drive. The 2025 BMW X5 xDrive40i in this lime rock gray metallic. It's not Brooklyn gray. I thought it was going to be, but it's not. It's a different color. It's powered by a mild hybrid 3-liter turbo inline 6. You got 375 horsepower, 398 pound-feet of torque. It's connected to an 8-speed automatic. You do have, of course, all-wheel drive, specifically when you have this off-road package. Definitely something that you want to have. 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds. Fuel economy, 23 city, 27 highway. And the price as this one is tested comes out at $81,075, and part of that is the massive off-road package at $10,000, which gives you, of course, these all-terrain tires. You got carbon fiber trim in the interior. You got roof rack, Harman and Kardon sound system, which is pretty strange to have part of the off-road package, and the shadow line trim. You got 2-axle air suspension as well. Now, starting with the front end design of the BMW X5 for the 2025 model year, I like what's going on here. I think it's actually a pretty handsome looking design, which is very strange to say now that in 2025 that we have all these BMW models looking very strange and very weird in the front end specifically. Now, this is not the M Sport package, and I do like it without the M Sport package because we have a clear separation with the bumper line here with the lower graphics. The one thing I would like to change here is this silver bar that just goes up here and abruptly ends in this area. It looks a little strange to me, but thankfully we do have the blacked out grills right here with the active shutters. You have the front mounted camera located right there. Some more openings down low with the radar sensor integrated right in the middle. Thankfully, they didn't do what they do on some other models. They put this radar sensor right here in the middle of the grill, which does not make sense to me one bit. I think they did that in the BMW M5 for sure. I'm pretty sure has that. Love the chamfers that goes around here as well. Overall, the front end looks proper BMW because we have the key components of what makes a BMW design. We have the 2 kidneys, and we have the headlight unit right here, sort of in line with the kidney design. 2 light elements, similar to what we had in the old Angel Eyes from early 2000s. So overall, very beautiful design by BMW. Now, if you look at the new M4 CS, I do believe, and also the M3 versions, they all have this. The hood design looks very industrial with these 2 ridges that goes in something like this, and then you have the BMW logo sitting in this little indent in the hood. It looks very industrial, too industrial for me, but thankfully for the X5 here, they still have this very organic shapes that we have in the hood right here. This feels like a line that's actually been sketched out by a person, by a designer, and not with a 3D software. That is the main problem I have with BMW's design. It feels like they came straight out of 3D softwares, started to design and model them in there instead of having these hand-sketched beautiful organic lines that we have. One detail I also love about the front end is that pretty much everything in the front end is functional. We talked about the air intakes in the grille in the lower section, but also these intakes right here on the side. And I do like this line that wraps around it. Creates a nice housing for it as well. Now, coming up close and personal with this headlight unit, to me, it's still a little bit too industrial for me. Because you see these light elements, the LEDs right here, they feel very sharp and very chiseled. This is the opposite as we talked about the hood lines up top. These they don't feel like they've been sketched by a hand. And that is the key difference for me between automotive design and product industrial design, is this emotional vibe that I want to see in dynamic, fluid lines that I want to see in cars. Cars are supposed to be pieces of art, meaning that we don't want to have static lines like this. And that is the trend that we have now, unfortunately, for most manufacturers. But overall, it's a pretty clean looking integration of the headlight. I like that the housing inside is blacked out. full LED, of course. You have a BMW LED right here on the side with a position light right there as well. Pretty cool looking headlight design overall. Now, the side view is by far my favorite view for the BMW X5. I think it's a beautiful proportioned SUV, has this clear true box design, this internal combustion proportions. We have the hood sticking out very far, and we also have with a $10,000 off-road package. This is the coolest thing I think BMW has done in a very long time, to offer an off-road package from factory, meaning that we have the all-terrain tires now integrated right here, front and back, 275mm wide tires. The rims are 20 inches tall. I think the wheel design is great, and you know me, thankfully, they're not blacked out in this case, and I think they look so much better in silver. And look at the shoulder line here, how it goes right here and then swoops back up right over the rear axle, creating a nice muscle. And guess where it connects to? Connects to right here, the corner of the taillight, exactly like I want to see. Another part of the off-road package is, if you look up top, we have the big solid roof racks up top there. You can put a tent up there, canoes, bikes, whatever you want. I think it's a great offering by BMW to have this package from factory again. Looking down at the lower section, we have some silver trim piece down here. And we also have this typical BMW X5 line, this one right here. And these lines, the shoulder line and this lower section, compare those lines to the graph, the internal pieces that we talked about in the headlight design and how static those look. These lines look very fluid and very dynamic, looking beautiful. This is, in fact, not functional. I would like to see this either just remove this little piece because it kind of messes up the cleanliness of the side view, or open it up and makes it functional. Now, remember a couple of years back when Audi dropped the Audi SQ5 and you looked all the way down low, it looked like it had proper quad exhaust systems, but those were totally fake. And it looked so strange. It was just almost awkward when you realized that those tailpipes on the Audi were fake. But thankfully, for 2025 for the X5, looking all the way down low here, we do have two exhaust pipes on each side, both being functional. Great to see that. Otherwise, what's the point of having it there? The overall proportions for the rear end, I think it has this beefy look to it that was introduced with the E53, the first generation X5, specifically the 4.6 and the 4.8, some of the best planted SUVs in car history, in my opinion. And this is close to that. Even though we do have the off-road tires here, they're still 275mm wide. You have the rear-mounted camera located right here. What I want to see is just hide this underneath the spoiler up top. For $81,000, I want to clean this up, extend the spoiler a little bit just to hide it and not have it visually available like we have here on the rear window. But overall, the proportions here, as I said, looking beautiful. Planted look for the BMW X5. Another reason I love the rear end of the X5 is look at all the horizontal lines that we have going on across the entire rear end. What this does is extends the width visually and even makes it feel more planted than it actually is. We have one horizontal line up here, another one down here, a third horizontal line, and then we have a properly designed bumper here with the parking sensors integrated in the bumper itself. This one is the X5 Silver Anniversary Edition, meaning that the X5 has been around for 25 years already, and that is why they created this vehicle. This is not actually Brooklyn Gray, by the way. I thought this was Brooklyn Gray, but this I do believe is called Lime Rock Gray or something like that. It's very, very close to Brooklyn Gray, but it's not the same color. Now, coming up close and looking at the taillight design here, I like the taillights better than we have in the front end, even though I still prefer the pre-facelift X5 taillights, which has a much more fluid, dynamic, beautiful lines to them. These still look pretty industrial to me and pretty sharp. Even though, in this case, what we don't have in the front end is here we have a thicker piece of the LED right here going into a thin piece. Same goes for the top view right here, a thicker piece right here going into thinner piece. And I also like that the housing for the taillight unit itself is blacked out. Even though, in this case, if you compare this to the pre-facelift, the problem with this is if you look at the housing, the outline for the taillight unit itself, the LEDs have nothing to do with the outline of the taillight itself. That is the reason why I prefer the pre-facelift over this one. Now, opening up the trunk here, you can open up the top view, the top half, I mean, or you can also open up the lower section. This was actually introduced with the first generation X5 E53, because when that was created, BMW teamed up with Land Rover. They took the off-road capabilities from the Range Rover of the time, which had this split opening, and then BMW applied the driving experience and technology. So they mixed them, and out came the BMW X5 E53. Now, looking at the rear end, you have plenty of space back here. If you want to, you can fold down the second row and get as much space as you want. Underneath here, you have some more storage. We don't have a spare tire in here. It should be a spare tire there, but now we don't have it. So instead, you're gonna get more luggage space there, I guess. You also have a couple of LEDs right there and a 12-volt outlet, cigarette outlet right there on the side, and that is pretty much it for the trunk space. You can also use this privacy shade or cover if you want to do that. Just roll it out like that. Pretty cool to see that they're still using the split opening. I love to see it. It's very functional and very practical as well. Now, the main thing about the interiors of these modern BMWs is, if you look at the interior, we still have this very static layout for the infotainment screen. 14.9 inches right there and 12.3 inch gauge cluster right next to it, all in one single curved pad on the dash. The integration is not the best. I also don't like that you can see the hardware behind the screen. It's just a pretty lazy integration of a dash, and that is the reason why I always prefer the iDrive 7 and the iDrive 8 over this new iDrive 9 system that we have. But part of the off-road package, pretty interesting. It doesn't have anything to do with off-road, but you do get the carbon fiber trim in here. You can see it right here in the door panel. Also, the entire center console is wrapped in beautiful carbon fiber, and also underneath the screen, the bay for the screens is also carbon fiber right here, looking beautiful. That is part of the off-road package. Another part of it is the Harman Kardon sound system. I guess I'm not sure why it's actually part of the off-road package, but that is what you get. You have the memory settings here for the seats. Solid, beautiful looking door handle. I like the door panel design of the X5. It's a beautiful design. Some storage down here as well. Ambient lighting strip going right here, and you have a cup holder right there as well. You have, of course, fully adjustable seats, electronically assisted right there. Beautiful looking seats as well. I do like the spec with the gray exterior, and then we have this light brown interior for the seats. It's looking beautiful. So let's jump in here, have a closer look at what's going on with the interior right here. Sitting in here, it's honestly, over time, you get used to the screen setup. But one thing I've never understood with these screens is, if you think about the old designs, which had this rounded housing for it, it followed the outline of the steering wheel perfectly. So the housing for the gauge cluster usually set exactly where the steering wheel was as well. Now, it's like fitting a square in a round hole. The square is the screen behind here, and it sticks out on the, on the sides here, and it doesn't create an optimal view for the gauge cluster, and it also doesn't not look anywhere near as good as the old iDrive 7 and 8 system. And you can also see this bracket here that I've never been a fan of for BMWs. Just how this is positioned looks very, very strange. But the functionality is starting to get used to it. Do I still want to have physical knobs and buttons for the climate settings? Of course, but that is not what we get with new BMWs. If you want to go in and change the temp and the fan speed, you do that in here, up and down for the fan speed, where you want the air to blow out from, like this. And the temperature is located right here in the bottom. You have heated steering wheel, heated seats. For $81,000, I would 100% want to see ventilated seats as well. Even though it usually doesn't really work that well, it would still be nice to have it. And of course, you do have wireless Apple CarPlay right there in addition to the native system. Now, you also have a bunch of different settings in here, or apps. For example, we can go into live vehicle. Here you have a bunch of different data. You have trip data, adaptive content, vehicle status, and you also have this off-road view, which is pretty cool, because when you turn the steering wheel, you turn the entire BMW X5 in the animation right there. We're looking pretty cool. Part of the off-road package is you also get this two-axle air suspension, so you can raise it up and down by using this toggle right here in 5 different levels. So you have the top two top levels, two bottom levels, and 2 top levels for the height of the ride height. So that is very, very useful, and that is, I think, a big part of the $10,000 price for the off-road package. And I do think it's pretty worth it, because you get the Harmony carbon sound system, you get all this carbon fiber in the interior, you get the 2-axle air suspension, the roof rails, and last but not least, the off-road wheels and tire setup. All that for $10,000. It sounds like a pretty decent deal, to be honest, specifically if you live out in the woods and you need to take this off-road, maybe going back and forth from your home, maybe it's out in the wilderness somewhere. You kind of want to have the off-road package, in my opinion. Then you have these very interesting toggles or controls for where you want the air to blow out from. You can't really see the vents, but you just figure out on and off by twisting it like this. This is illuminated at night, X5, and all these arrows. You can cover this up. Now I have a little water bottle there, so I can't cover it up. But if you cover it up, let's just do it like this so we can show you how clean it looks when it's all covered up in all carbon fiber. You also have 25 years of X5 Silver Anniversary Edition. Love this portion of the interior. This is absolutely gorgeous because it's not static. Ambient lighting here on the sides, on both sides, and full carbon fiber, looking beautiful. Wireless charging pad. You have another space for your phone here. They could have maybe added a second wireless charger right here. You have one regular USB right there, 12-volt cigarette outlet, and 2 cup holders. And this is what the key looks like, a pretty typical BMW key. And this color, lime rock, as I said, gray metallic. I thought it was 100% the Brooklyn gray. It looks very similar to that, but it's not. You have the lock button right there, unlock, open the trunk, and the panic button, and that is pretty much it. Put it back in the cup holder right there. Now this is the control panel for the drive modes. You have Eco Pro, Comfort, and Sport. And when you change these up, gonna change up the entire dash. As you can see, Eco Sport, blue, Comfort, sort of brownish, Sport, of course, gonna be red. Now you can switch out the layout of the gauge cluster by using this button right there. We can switch between different contents, what we want to have here, for example. So go into content right here, we can switch out what we want to have in the center portion. We can have music. We can have this situation right there, map. If you want to have the full map in the middle, we can have that as well. So it's nice to see that it's a little bit customizable, not you know, fully customizable, but you can do a couple of things here. Also change up the head-up display. I'm not sure if you can see it in the camera, but you can change up the graphics for the head-up display right there in front of you as well. I like to keep it in the most minimal setting like that. I think that looks the best. Now moving all the way back here, we do have the split opening for the armrest, looking very nice. You have another USB-C. So we have one USB regular here. We have one USB-C right there. I want to have at least double USBs outputs, but we do have an LED right there as well. Not the biggest storage space, but I guess that will have to do with the BMW X5. Now looking at the seat designs here, very, very beautiful looking seats. I love what BMW is doing with the seat design. They've always been great seats, and these are no exception to that. Proper bolstering as well. You have heated seats. They look like they're ventilated because we have all this perforation here, but this one is not equipped with the ventilated seats. But beautiful spec for this, with the carbon fiber, the gray lime rock gray exterior, and this brown seats for the interior, looking beautiful. Looking up top, full panoramic sunroof. You can open that up all the way up, but let's do that right now. And here you can see the solid roof rails and roof racks up top. They look pretty sturdy, and they look like they can hold a bunch of weight up there. You have 2 LEDs here as well. Proper size glove box in the passenger side. Now looking at the steering wheel design, typical BMW steering wheel. I do like the logo in the middle, classic old logo for BMW. Stitching here looks nice. We have the silver trim as well, and these are the controls for the voice command and also to configure the gauge cluster. On the left side you have the controls for the cruise control settings, and of course the paddles for the gearbox. Now you have the indicator stock here on the left side, very straightforward, and you have the washer here on the right side. And that is, I do believe, pretty much it for the front end design. Let me know what you think about this. I want to hear your opinion. Do you prefer this new layout that we have here? It's not really new, it's been around for a couple of years now, this iDrive 9 with the 2 screens, or do you prefer the old iDrive 7? I do believe it went up to iDrive 8, where you had, you know, the physical knobs and buttons down here, a separation of the gauge infotainment screen and the gauge cluster set in a beautiful housing. You can clearly tell which one I prefer. So let's jump in to the back seat and check this out. We do have plenty of space back here, looking beautiful. I do like that we still have the carbon fiber intact in the back, and also here is where you have another USB right there. So we do have some extra USBs back here. You can fold down the center armrest there as well. Cup holders in the lower section, and we do have, if we jump in here, we have some vents down here and even more USBs all the way in the lower section. I want to have a little bit more, a couple of more USBs in the front end, but we do have 2 here, and also the 12-volt outlet in addition to some shelves to put your phone, I guess. Folding down this center armrest, you're going to find yourself this storage, and also if you fold this up right here, you do have 2 cup holders. Very German engineered design for the cup holders here, super complex. Let's fold this back up and let's take this BMW X5 for a drive. All right guys, let's take the 2025 BMW X5 xDrive40i for a drive, and let's see what this is all about. Now, BMW, you can say what you want about the exterior design, the interior design. Personally, right now, I'm a bigger fan of what Mercedes is doing, specifically with the exterior stylings, with their internal combustion engine cars. The EVs still look pretty strange to me, but the driving between BMW and Mercedes, I still honestly think I prefer Mercedes, because it has this perfect, in my opinion, mix between sport and comfort. But it doesn't matter what you think about the exterior design of BMWs or interiors, they still drive very, very well. And this being the base X5, this is 100% the one I would personally go with. I do not feel like I need more power from the inlines, the turbocharged inline 6 3-liter. It's a mild hybrid in this case. You have 375 horsepower, 400 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in about 5.2 seconds. And what I love about BMWs, they always make their fuel tanks massive. So the thing is, when you fill this up, you're gonna have close to 600 miles of range. And the thing about that, when I fill up a vehicle and I see the range being at like 570, 580 miles, I don't know why, but it just makes me happy for some reason. I get this idea of I can go for 600 miles in any direction from here without having to fill up the vehicle. It gives me a sense of adventure. It's very, very, I don't know if it's strange or something like that, but it just makes me happy to see big fuel tanks. And that is something that specifically Mazda need to work on, because when you fill up a Mazda, you get like 220 miles of range, which is not that exciting. But that's a good thing about pretty much every single BMW, having these big fuel tanks. We are in sport right now, and we are rolling. Keep in mind, we're rolling on all-terrain tires, but it's still so smooth, even in sport. The sport setting for a BMW compared to a Mercedes, for example, the Mercedes sport setting is pretty rough. I mean, when you go into Sport Plus on a Mercedes, it really firms up everything, and you can feel every single imperfection in the road. I do think maybe that has to do a little bit with the wheel and tire setup that we have here, why it's so smooth still in sport. But again, I definitely do not feel like I need more power. I'm gonna step on it here when we come out of this slow zone. It's about to rain any moment, it looks like. Finally, we're down to like 69 degrees today. It's been 90, 93 for a full week. Pretty toasty outside, but now today is the first day in a long time where it's a little bit chilled. Now, looking at the infotainment screen here, the thing that bothers me the most is when we're talking about the interior, just how square the screen is. It doesn't follow the outline of the steering wheel, so the steering wheel is actually cutting off part of the information of the screen, and it doesn't make sense to me from a design standpoint or from a functional standpoint. It just does not make sense. So I definitely, that is the main reason why I prefer the older iDrive 7 systems. So let's floor it here and let's go. I mean, again, do I need more power than this in an X5, specifically with the off-road package? I don't feel like I want to go faster 0 to 60 than 5.2 seconds. Maybe if I go with a different powertrain for this vehicle. But I mean, this goes. You're never gonna feel like you lack power in a base X5 40. It's just a fact. It still has plenty of power And keep in mind that these are German horsepower, meaning that if you compare, it's always been a very strange sensation. The German horsepowers, they feel more effective than any other sort of horsepower from any other part of the world. I don't know what it is, but if you drive an old BMW 530, I think it has like 230 of the E39. If you drive that one, 230 horsepower or something like that, but it seriously feels like it has about 300 horsepower. I think that also has to do a little bit with just how much lighter vehicles were back in the day. But still, it just uses the power very, very effectively. You can see the vehicle status here, how much power is going to the front axle, how much power is going to the rear axle, and how much tilt we have in the vehicle, angle. Pretty cool to see these stats in the infotainment screen. And the comfort in here is still solid. The seats are fantastic. Just wish we maybe could add ventilated seats and make them work properly for $81,000, but keep in mind that the off-road package is a huge chunk of that price at $10,000. Do you think it's worth it to spend that much money on this vehicle? What you could do is not get the off-road package, get the xDrive40i, 375 horsepower, great. Just get the base spec. I think that starts at about $61,000 for the base X5, and then you have $20,000 to add your own wheel and tire setup here, some roof racks up top, and you don't get the air suspension though. But I think I don't feel like I need the air suspension. I feel like if that eventually fails, it's probably going to be a very expensive thing to repair anyway. So personally, if you want to get it from factory with the warranty and all that stuff, then it's a good idea to get the off-road package. But I would personally probably just get the base xDrive40i and spec it out as I want and save probably at least 5-10K on that. BMW right now is in this massive transition of their leadership, specifically when it comes to their design. And I have big hopes for BMW and their future when it comes to their exterior design specifically. We've seen spy shots of the next generation X5. It's going to have this Neue Klasse design to it, which I think is going to... I honestly don't know if it's going to be a good looking vehicle or not. When you look at the spy photos, it has these massive wheel and tire setup, big brake discs as well. It's gonna be a high performance SUV for sure, but putting this Neue Klasse design, I think overall having a red line across the entire lineup of BMW is going to help the brand, because right now it's all over the place. Every single BMW looks like a different, it came from a different brand. They need to go back to a red line in their lineup, and I think the Neue Klasse will help with that. Let's step on a little bit more here. Oh, this inline 6 sounds great. Beautiful. And even though we are on this all-terrain tires, it corners really well. I mean, cornering and just driving and having fun. The driving experience is all what BMW is all about, and this one does that really, really well still. Doesn't matter if it's an SUV, a coupe, sedan, whatever you have, convertible. BMWs are always going to be fun to drive. So overall, very nicely done by BMW. The main thing that I need to have switched out, which is not going to happen because the next generation is going to have this big iDrive Pano layout, which means we're going to have a full screen across the entire lower section of the windshield. I mean, that's where we're heading in the next generation with the Neue Klasse design, unfortunately. But for me, I mean, it would make me so happy if we went back to a proper interior design for pretty much every brand out there today that are doing these dual screen setups. But apart from that, the exterior design, I'm a fan of the X5 still. I think it's one of the best looking BMWs on sale right now. And the driving still feels like a proper BMW to me. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.